Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive challenge in the enterprise tech world. We're looking at why large-scale cloud transformations, despite millions, sometimes tens of millions of dollars in investment, so often fail to deliver on their promises. Listen, if you're involved in enterprise tech, you already know the pitch. Moving to the cloud is supposed to bring you agility, infinite scalability, and total modernization. But so often, it just brings massive headaches. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, how to actually fix it. Let's kick things off with a hard truth straight from our source material. Migration is not the goal, transformation is. If you are just relocating your infrastructure from a physical building into a cloud provider's data center, you are completely missing the point of the cloud. I mean, the goal isn't just to change the physical location of your servers, right? It's to fundamentally change how your business operates. Doing a basic lift and shift is honestly like moving into a state-of-the-art smart home, but insisting on still using candles for light. So in this explainer, we're going to diagnose the root causes of these migration failures. We'll uncover the infrastructure relocation trap, identify some critical red flags you need to watch out for, go over a solid operational readiness checklist, master hybrid cloud complexity, talk about cultural transformation, and finally, map out the architectural cure for sustainable modernization. Let's start right in with number one, the infrastructure relocation trap, or as I like to call it, speed versus strategy. This is where organizations pit raw speed against actual strategy. The crucial point here is understanding the difference between short-term momentum and long-term pain. When leadership comes down and mandates that, say, a data center absolutely must be closed by Q3, the primary focus instantly becomes raw migration velocity. Teams just start lifting and shifting virtual machines as is just to accelerate cloud entry. And sure, it gives you the illusion of speed, but the source material highlights some brutal real-world disasters. We've literally seen enterprises lift and shift hundreds of virtual machines over a single weekend, only to experience massive outages and watch their hosting bills completely triple within a month. Why? Because their old architecture wasn't optimized for cloud pricing modes. Without a modernization strategy, you just inherit your old inefficiencies, your high costs, and massive security gaps. You haven't actually solved your problems. You've just relocated your operational complexity and technical debt into a brand new, much more expensive zip code. And that leads us perfectly into critical migration red flags and exactly where this whole process starts to go off the rails. As enterprise architects, we see the exact same patterns of failure repeat constantly. Here are three critical red flags for literally any migration project. First, relying solely on a lift and shift approach without ever rethinking your architecture. Second, migrating without a clear target architecture strategy, which absolutely guarantees long-term complexity. And third, ignoring governance. Moving workloads without established policies, standards, and guardrails, that directly leads to chaos and some really severe security vulnerabilities down the line. There is a huge, stark contrast between those common mistakes and the right approach. While failed migrations treat security as an afterthought and rely on slow, manual processes, the right approach demands that we establish our foundations first. You have to define your target architecture, you need to build in a zero-trust security approach at every single layer, and you have to automate everything using infrastructure as code before you move a single workload. Strategy and governance absolutely must lead the way here. Because governance has to lead. It is incredibly vital to assess your cloud operational readiness long before you attempt to scale these migration efforts. To avoid those red flags we just talked about, we highly suggest running through this operational readiness checklist. Ask yourself, does your team have a consistent identity and access management strategy? Do you have strict networking standardization? And, crucially, do you have observability, proactive monitoring, and really clear incident response runbooks? Think about it from a consulting perspective for a second. Moving to the cloud without operational readiness means when something breaks, and trust me, it will break, your downtime is going to drastically increase. Why? Because your team simply won't have the visibility or the procedures to fix it in this totally new environment. But we also have to talk about mastering hybrid cloud complexity. Because we all know enterprise migrations don't just happen in a vacuum. The true enterprise reality is that most migrations happen in highly complex hybrid setups. You are constantly integrating shiny new cloud-native platforms with legacy on-premises infrastructure, like traditional VMware environments. You have to solve enterprise networking connectivity and bandwidth constraints. You've got to maintain consistent security guardrails across both environments, all while somehow ensuring regulatory compliance. Without strong architectural discipline across every single one of these integration points, hybrid cloud environments very quickly become an unmanageable operational nightmare. Navigating that level of complexity requires operational and cultural transformation. This is the moment we realize you simply cannot operate the cloud the exact same way you operated your old on-prem data center. Cloud migration is not merely a technical shift. It is a full-blown organizational transformation. Teams have to undergo a complete operational redesign. This means adapting your internal culture to actually embrace platform engineering. It means automating your deployments with CI/CD pipelines rather than relying on some guy manually configuring servers, and it means adopting DevSecOps to ensure security is integrated right at the code level, not just slapped on at the very end as an afterthought. Why does this matter so much? Because you are fundamentally changing how your organization deploys applications, operates infrastructure, and scales workloads. Bottom line, if the culture doesn't shift, the tech will fail. Taking all of this into account, let's look at architecture for sustainable success. What does a mature, actually successful transformation look like? Well, our source material maps out a really clear migration journey. Step 1 might be to simply move or lift and shift workloads as is, just to get out of a data center. But you absolutely cannot stop there. You then have to move to Step 2, replatforming with minimal changes. And then Step 3, re-architecting to actually optimize for cloud benefits. Step 4 is modernizing so you become truly cloud native, scalable, and resilient. And ultimately, you reach Step 5, transform, where the cloud platform actively drives net new business innovation and value.
To actually make it through that journey, you have to adhere to these core pillars. Strategy first, automation always, security everywhere, value always. Ultimately, your long-term success in the cloud isn't measured by your migration speed. It's measured by your operational scalability, your security maturity, your reliability, and how well you actually uphold these architectural foundations.
As you evaluate your own enterprise cloud programs, I want you to ask yourself this final question. Are you just moving workloads around, or are you actually building a better future? Migration speed might create some short-term momentum, but it is your architecture quality that determines your long-term success. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep architecting for sustainable modernization, and I'll catch you next time.